Hi guys, Jordan from P&P Campers. I'm just going to do this handover video on the VWT6. It's a Caledonian Campers conversion and it is a 72 plate, so it's pretty much brand new. We've just gone and done a little PDI check on it. Everything is absolutely as you would expect. Washer fluid topped up, all the levels checked over, but everything absolutely fine. The bodywork and the paint on this particular vehicle is absolutely fantastic. Can't fault it in any way, shape or form, to be completely honest with you. Even down to little things like all of these bits being as they should be. So under the bonnet we've got the engine battery over here on the right hand side, your engine coolant just here with this sort of orange coloured fluid in it, washer fluid in this reservoir just next door to that. You then got the ECU, so this is all to do with the engine management bits and pieces, although actually that might be to do with the cooling system. Might have got that confused there. Yeah, cooling bits and pieces on the top of the engine. The engine oil gets topped up through that cap just there at the top, and you've got your engine oil dipstick just here at the front. You've then got your brake fluid up here attached to the servo just behind it, and your air filter inside this box over here on the left. A few other bits and pieces, electrical bits and bobs at the top just here. You don't need to worry about any of that really. And yeah, I'm assuming that's some kind of intercooler of some sort, perhaps, because it has got these feeds to it. But anyway, there you go. So fuel filling point on these is going to be inside. So if you open up the passenger door here, you will then be able to open up the fuel cap. You've got a diesel filling point at the top and an AdBlue filling point below that. So you do need to have this door open in order to open this flap out, just to stop you from being able to get into it without having the key. I'll show you around the inside in just a minute. If we just pull the sliding door here across, I can show you the freshwater filling point is just here on the near side at the back, and you do have a key on the key set in order to open and lock that. Just open this back up again. So at the back of the van, we've got this, which is like a fitted mattress for this particular vehicle. Under the bed there is a full-size table and a few other bits and pieces that the previous owner has left. Next door to that, to the right, we've got the gas locker. Now this is only big enough to fit one of these camping gas bottles in really. So this is a 907. So you can get a 901 and up to 907 basically. So this is the biggest one that you're more than likely going to be able to fit in here comfortably. So to turn the bottle on, we've got this little dial on the top just here. So at the moment I've got it all the way on, but if I was to turn it off, I would go clockwise round to the right to turn it off and anti-clockwise round to the left to turn it on. You've then got your regulator at the top just here. The gas gets sent through the pigtail hose just here through the regulator, which basically regulates the amount of pressure that goes into the vehicle and then into the van. So that has all been pressure tested. Absolutely nothing wrong with that system whatsoever. It's up to current regs because we're in a metal lined locker, and it's got the dropout holes, or the correct size dropout holes, down there as well. So we've then got some storage bits and pieces at the back just here. Nice modern USB sockets just in here as well, directly linked up to the leisure battery. On the off side, we've got the hookup point just here. So if you do have access to a hookup cable, it is really handy because it means that all of your leisure battery and any power that you want to draw inside the vehicle will be constantly trickle charged and kept up, up to maximum power. You do, however, have the solar panel on the roof now as well, which has been fitted here today. So the solar panel will keep that leisure battery trickle charged throughout the day as well, as long as there is some sunlight on the roof. But having access to the hookup cable is if anything, a lot better in the long run, because it means that your leisure battery will be fully charged all the time that the hookup is plugged in. So that is completely up to you how you want to use that, but that's how I would do it. If you do have access to the cable, have it plugged in. Right, down on the offside underneath, there is the waste drain off point, which if I just show you, you can probably just about see it there, hooked up in this little clip. That comes out from here, as you can see, and just jump up. Basically, that is where you drain off your waste tank from. I have been told that the fresh tank doesn't have a specific draining point, so if you do want to drain the fresh tank out, basically all you have to do is draw all of the water through the tap and drain it out through the waste tank. But you know, that's pretty normal stuff on these smaller campers, really. Fitting the big tanks up underneath is normally where the most of the space gets taken, so that tends to be the way. Right, so you can just about see there, we've got funny coloured lights, so you have got a remote for those. Whether or not you want to use them is completely up to you, but where the remote is, I'm not 100%, but obviously that will be shown to you on handover. But yeah, so you've got the nice lights up there, really nice bright LEDs, which I think, you know, it does make a nice little difference. It means you can have any colour you like on. You don't have to use those top ones if you don't want to. You can just use the lower lights down here. They're really nice as well. So you've got the under counter LEDs and the strip light just there as well. Plenty bright enough, even if you don't have those lights on up there as well. So first things first, you've got your sort of control panel area over here on the right hand side. So what we've got is, because this is a proper conversion company, Caledonian campers, we hadn't had any of their vehicles before this one, but the conversion itself is absolutely brilliant. I can't fault it at all. So they've used all of the best parts. So you've got the Sargent control panel along with the Sargent power supply unit in here. So yeah, they've not skimped out on anything. You can go really cheap on the control panels and the power supply units, but you know, these are the top of the range stuff. So the Sargent control panel up here, super simple. You've got an on and off switch on the top left hand side. You've got a leisure battery light just here, so this tells you the leisure battery voltage. If I press this button just here, it shows us, I'll turn it back over. So basically what happened just then was I switched over from leisure to vehicle battery, and because the vehicle battery is, you know, not as fully charged up as this, the vehicle battery hasn't got the solar panel on the roof charging it up and all that sort of stuff, you want to leave it here on leisure when you're using power in the back end. So vehicle, you don't really need to worry about this button. It's only if you're in a real, if your leisure battery went completely flat and you were really desperate for a little bit of power, you could use the vehicle battery for a minute, but you know, if you use the vehicle battery too long, it's just going to end up draining your engine battery out. So that's why you wouldn't really do that, but we'll leave it on leisure for now. We've then got your water pump switch just here and fresh water level. Okay, so that's showing us right now that the fresh water is completely empty, and that's why they let the water pump flashed up and started beeping. As soon as you start filling up the fresh tank and you want to turn that pump back on, it will just come on and start working as you would expect. But when there's no water in the tank, it will beep at you like that, just to say, you know, I don't want to work, basically. So that's the control panel. Below that, we've got your heating controller. So this is a Webasto diesel heater, and same goes again for the conversion. Can't fault it. Webasto and eBispatcher are the two top brands for the diesel heaters. You can go really cheap on those as well, but again, they haven't. They've gone for the top spec stuff. So when you turn on this system, you can go to timers. You don't really need to worry about that if you don't want to. You can select heating and then choose your temperature and press go. That then turns green and basically just starts the heating system up. You can then change the fan speed just there as well, and your temperature. All right, so once you've set your temperature, press it, leave it alone, and it will start ticking away outside and heating the van up. The heating, or the hot air, will come through this little vent just here at the front. So make sure not to cover that vent up with anything. If you do cover that vent up, the heating will not work very well at all. They do, they really need, I mean, the air intake part should be underneath the van really, but they do rely on having clear vents like that a lot for sort of how efficiently they work. So when you finish using that, you press the button just there. That will then bring up the main home screen again, and then you can go through and there's other things as well, but really the only one you're going to be using, generally speaking, is going to be the heating, like that. All right, so for the time being I don't really want the heating on, so I'm just going to turn that off again. After a little while that screen will go off, but as long as that little power switch in the top corner is white and not green, it means your heater is off. We've then got to the right of that, these are all CBE style switches and bits and pieces, which again, much like the other stuff, top of the range. So you've got more USB sockets up here, a mains power socket over here, which will only work when the hookup is plugged in. You've then got two light switches just here, which do this strip lamp and this one under here. And you've then got this one here that has a little yellow light in it, which powers the fridge. So it means that you don't have to go inside the fridge every single time in order to turn it on and off. So if I turn this little switch off here, see there, the fridge power has gone straight out. So again, just sort of ease of use really, and a good design idea. A lot of the new modern camper vans have these. Switch there, turns the power on for the fridge. Once you have got the power on for the fridge, you can adjust the fridge to work exactly as you want it to. So you can turn it on and off holding this button down, but you've then got the temperature selector here. So if you do find the temperature of the fridge is either too hot or too cold, you can adjust it manually from in there. But again, for the time being, I don't actually want the fridge on, so I will switch it off. Okay, we've got a nice little pull-out cupboard in here, which I suppose could be a cutlery drawer. A little bit more storage down here, and a 12-volt socket just there as well. The sink, obviously it's cold water only. There's no heating for the hot water. Heating for the van itself is diesel from the wood gas stove, but as I say, the water is just cold only. If you want to use the 2-burner hob just here, this is gas, and it is as easy as pushing down and round to the left whilst pressing the igniter. So this is what you'd call a piezo igniter. Piezo meaning that you actually have to do it yourself, basically. You have to press the button in order to create the spark. But piezo ignitions are very, very reliable. They don't tend to go wrong like the electronic ones do sometimes. So yeah, you shouldn't get any problems with those whatsoever. The only other thing I tend to mention about these is please leave these to cool down. If you have used either of these hobs, leave them to cool right down before putting this glass lid down. The glass lids are designed to get a bit warm, but if you sort of close the lid straight down on top of it, either whilst it's on, which might sound obvious, but it does happen, whilst it's on or just after turning it off, I can pretty much guarantee that this will shatter. And it's not the end of the world. You can buy these really, really easily, but it's the messiest thing you'll ever see. So it's not really something you want to happen. But that's those two just there. You've also got the microwave down here, which is really nicely fitted just inside this specific gap. Now this will only work when your electric hookup is plugged in again, because this is a mains power appliance. So it will not work unless the hookup's plugged in. Just down here, we've got a couple of gas isolators. The only thing that actually works on gas in the van is the 2-burner hob. So you've got an isolator that's been capped off just here, so you can use it for something else in the future if you should want to, and the isolator there for the gas hob. You have also got the appropriate dropout hole just there because you've got gas fittings in the cupboard, and the water pump sits over here to the left. Right, pretty much the last thing I need to show you now is in this little clever cupboard. So the leisure battery itself sits down here underneath this little cover. Now there is a screw either side of here to stop that from being able to just be pulled out really easily, but that is where your leisure battery is, just inside there. You've then got to the left here, as I said, you've got your power supply unit, which basically what that means is all of your 240 volt power from the hookup and all of the 12 volt power from the leisure battery comes into this unit just here and gets distributed around the van as and where it needs to. So in that same breath, you've got all of your 12 volt fuses just here with a diagram underneath to tell you what each one does, and all of your mains trip switches over on the right hand side also with a diagram telling you exactly what they do. So if you get any problems with anything that's 12 volt or 240 volt power related in the future, you can have a little look in here and make sure that it's all good. You've also got a little switch over here that says charger. That needs to be on, because when you plug the hookup cable in, that is what then turns the charger on for the leisure battery. You've now got as well a Victron solar controller at the back just here. It's flashing away like that, just telling us that it's working basically. You've got two sets of wires coming out from the bottom of this. You've got one set that goes to the leisure battery and one set that goes to the solar panel. And what this does is it just literally regulates the amount of power that gets sent into the leisure battery. So that is what's in this nice little cupboard here. You have also got storage space in here. The only thing I will say is try not to cover up the front of this or the top of this. Don't put anything on top of it because the charger itself is inside this unit. So it does get hot when it's left on for a very long time. So please don't cover it up. It just doesn't allow it to ventilate at all. And it does say that on the top, but just like to mention it. This light here is touch screen, so you basically just touch the rim of it and it will come on and off. This slides back over. We've also got another light up here which you can move around as and where you want to, with a USB socket on the side of it, so you've got absolutely tons of USB points in the vehicle. Okay, so I think that's about it for the motorhome side of things. I'm just going to jump into the cab now to show you what we've got going on in here. Now, it is a very nice modern cab. I'm just trying to move the seat back a little bit. There you go. So super modern in the cab area. So you've got all of the bits and pieces that you might expect to find on something of this age. So you've got all of your steering wheel controls. So you've got your cruise control here on the left hand side. All of your kind of stereo adjustments here on the right hand side. The volume is just here. You've got the lights down here on the right hand side. You've got your heated and electric adjusting mirrors from the door just here. Of course, you've got your aircon switch just here in the middle, and all of your heated controls through from there. You've got start stop from, you can isolate that from there if you don't want to have the start stop system on, you don't have to. Up the top just here, we've got all of the kind of standard new vehicle bits and pieces, and a couple of cup holders up the top. But I think the main thing for me is just the fact that it's so sort of nice to look at, so nicely designed. There's no kind of old-fashionedness about this whatsoever. Really modern. All right, so last thing I'm going to show you. So obviously this has got a pop top roof on it. The mattress that I showed you in the back is going to be for laying on top of this. These beds are very strong, a lot stronger than you might expect, so are plenty capable of, you know, sleeping a couple of people up here. The roof itself, you just basically grab hold of these handles up here, one on each side, and once you've got it all the way down, you tighten these straps down from this point just here. Again, these are super strong, but the only thing you do need to make sure of is when you are closing this roof down and going to tie it up, you need to make sure that all of this fabric is inside rather than hanging out on the outside. So it's always a good thing to do to either go around yourself and just make sure that all of it's on the inside rather than the outside, or if you've got somebody else with you, you can be inside making sure it's all pulled in, and just get someone to walk around the outside and double check. Only reason you need to do that is that if, for example, a little piece of this fabric is left outside and it gets rained on and you're driving along with it, it's just going to start to perish. Yeah, that is really simple stuff. Once you've done it a few times, you won't even have to think about it. But there you go. All right, so I think that's about all I can show you on here. These front seats do swivel around, just so you know as well. But yeah, so the rest of it's pretty self-explanatory. If there's anything you think I've missed out or anything you'd like to be shown over again, just let us know. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks very much.